Have you been looking to get started with facial motion capture, but you didn't know where to start? Maybe it just seems so complicated and technical and a little expensive. Well, what if I told you that you can get this scene running in Unreal Engine on your PC and filming straight from your iPhone? It is that simple, I promise. In this tutorial today, we're going to take you through step by step on how to import your custom character, how to calibrate your PC and your iPhone and to get it working in Unreal Engine, and then how to set up the head rotation as well, so that you can have all of this working in real time and it all goes together nicely so that you can use it in your projects. So, if you're a beginner in Unreal Engine, or maybe you're a seasoned pro, but you've never experimented with facial motion capture before, then this tutorial is for you. Just grab a coffee, take some notes, and then we'll get started on this together. So, let's begin. First things first, we're going to download our Unreal Engine version. For this one, we're going to be using 4.26.1, although you can use any version which supports the LiveLink plugin. When you're creating a new project, we're going to create film, television and live events and click next. Just make sure it's a blank template, keep it simple for now. Make sure there's no starter content and that ray tracing disabled just to make it a bit easier on yourself and your PC. And then you can call the file whatever you want, you can put it wherever you want. For this one we're going to call it Bella LiveLink, and then just create your project. When the project opens, your viewport should look like this. It's a blank slate, and the first thing that we're going to want to do is head over to Edit, Plugins, and then we're going to check for LiveLink, because we need to make sure that that's enabled before we start anything. So just double check that that's enabled. You can enable the LiveLink control rig and the debug UI as well, but we don't need to for this purpose. So just close that out. So now we're going to need a character. So if you're a Polywink customer, then you'll have already uploaded your custom character and we'll have made the Blendshapes for you, so you're good to go. If you're needing a character and don't want to pay for one, that's completely fine. Just head to the Polywink website and you can use the Bella rig, which I've been using today. So if you click on the Animation for iPhone X tab here at the top, and then you scroll down, just click Download a Sample right there, and that'll download it immediately for you with the 52 blend shapes that we're going to need. Or you can click on the Talking Avatar page and download it from there. It's the same model with the same 52 blend shapes, but this one has a few more bones which we're going to be using for the head rotation, so we'll be using that one today. As that's downloading, just head back over to the Animation for iPhone X page and you can scroll down and see all the requirements that are needed, and it'll tell you a bit more about the model that you'll be downloading as well, and a little bit about the service too. But what we're interested in is those 52 blend shapes. So that's what we're going to need for this tutorial for Unreal Engine and the iPhone. And if you go into those downloaded files and in the README PDF there, you can actually scroll down and see each of the names of the 52 blend shapes that we're going to be using. So that's what's going to drive the data that's coming from your phone, so what you're doing with your face, and onto your 3D character. So these are the ARKit specific ones and they are named appropriately, so it should work absolutely perfectly. So on your iPhone X, you're actually going to want to download an app, and that's going to record our facial performance and then record that data and project that onto our 3D character. So if you head over to your app store, type in LiveLink Face. That's Unreal Engine's app specifically for this, so just download that. When you open up the app, you'll see your beautiful face staring back at you, and you see the blend shape data there working as well, which is really cool. But if you hit that settings icon in the top left corner, it's going to tell you everything we need to know. So if you tap the LiveLink banner and see in that protocol banner, we need to make sure that that is 4.25 and later, or whatever version of Unreal Engine on your PC you're using. Make sure it's live at startup, makes it easier. And in the targets, we're going to type in our IP address of our PC. If that's not the same, then it's not going to work. Make sure streamer head rotation is on, that'll be handy later. Make sure that the blend shape data is on because we think it's quite good to see, and just make sure that the video quality is on medium. And that's you should be set up and ready to go. So moving back into Unreal Engine, we're going to make a new folder and call this one Assets. Dive straight into that, and we're going to import your character. So that could be the one that you've downloaded or the Bella one, and you're going to import the FBX file, and you should be met with this beautiful FBX import options. Just hit reset to default there, make sure there's no nasty things in there. The one thing that we do want to check, if you open up that mesh tab, look for import morph targets and make sure that's checked. So morph targets are blend shapes. It's the exact same thing, just a different name, and then hit import all, and this should take a few minutes or a few seconds hopefully. If an error message does pop up, just close it out, just ignore it. It just looks a lot scarier than it is, it should be fine. And then this is what you get in this lovely little ribbon down here, is your character and textures and the skeleton too. But what we're going to want to drag out is this pinky purple one over at the front, and that's our skeletal mesh. So just drag that onto your scene there. And this is what we get. If you've downloaded the Bella model, you get to see it in its full glory. It's a really great model, really great big eyes as well, and it's perfect for facial motion capture, as you'll soon see. But as you'll notice, it doesn't come with textures. But that's completely fine. Just take it into Substance Painter or Mari, just really have fun with it and add your own flair to it, and then bring that back into Unreal Engine if you'd like. But what we're going to want to do just now is just scroll down in that Details tab. We're going to look for the Skeletal Mesh tab there. And what we're going to do is you're going to scroll down until you see Update Animation in Editor. Just make sure that that's checked. It's going to make it easier when the motion capture is going, so you don't have to simulate it every time. So for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to texture it myself, and here's one I made earlier. Ta-da! Look how gorgeous. So now you can just see the character a little bit in its full glory, really just simple, and it looks great. So that will do for today. Great, so now that we've got that working, we're going to double click on that skeletal mesh there, and it's going to bring up this lovely page which shows all the morph targets or all the blend shapes, just like the ones that we saw on that PDF that Polywink gave us. Except on here, if you play with the sliders, you can actually see the blend shapes working in real time with your model. So play about with these, use the sliders. It's on a weight of 0 to 1, so 0 is the neutral pose and 1 being it in full effect. So again, get to know them, and you can also see if they work, if there's any difficulties, and then you can remap these as well, which is also really simple. And then on the left, you can also see all the bones as well that we're going to be using. So if we close that out, and then what we're going to do now is we're going to create our animation blueprint. So if we create a new folder, we're going to call this one Animations. You can call this Blueprints if you want. Dive in, add import, and we're going to look for Animation and then Animation Blueprint. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select Anim Instance and then select your skeleton which you have, and then OK. You can call this whatever you like. For this one, we're going to call it Bella Livelink. And then dive into that. Now, when you open this up, it's going to look a little scary, but don't worry, it's really simple, I promise. So in our animation graph, we're going to right click and type in Livelink Pose and click the first one there. We're going to join this up to our output pose, and in Livelink subject name, you'll see nothing. That's because you're not on your phone yet. So if you go into the app and just get that, make sure that's live, and make sure you're on the same Wi-Fi as your PC. If you go into that again, your phone should be there. So head over to your event graph, and we're going to right click again and type in Evaluate Livelink Frame. So it should be the first one that comes up for you there, and just click that. Same again, for the subject, you're going to find your Polywink phone, or whatever else you've called it. So once you hook that up to your Evaluate Livelink Frame, and that should be the basics working for you. So if you go up to the top here and tap Simulate with your app running, you should see here in your left corner that your character is working. If your blend shapes are working correctly, that's brilliant. And there you go. So you can start playing with this and testing the rig and making a fool of yourself and looking great in your camera. So really have fun with it. That's the best part about this motion capture, is you can really have fun and see your character's true potential as well, which is just great to do. So if we close out the blueprint there, we can make sure the animation mode is on the blueprint and make sure your blueprint there is selected in your anim class. And as soon as you press play, you should have your motion capture working. And it looks great, look at that. But you'll notice the head is still. We're getting absolutely no head rotation and no natural movement there, just the face. So let's figure out how we're going to do that. So heading back into the blueprint, if you head up to the event graph, and next to your live link frame, we're going to right click and press Get Property Value. It should be the first one there. So in order to get that natural head rotation that we're looking for, we're actually going to take data from 3 rotations. One is the yaw, which is looking from left to right on our head. The roll, which is tilting our head side to side but keeping our face straight ahead. And the pitch rotation as well, which is looking up and down. So we're going to get the data that's coming in from each of these rotations through your phone, and then we're going to apply these to the bones of the head, so that all the data that's coming on through the phone, just like the Blendshapes, is happening to the head in real time. So with this get property value that we've already set down, we're just going to duplicate that twice more for the 3 rotations, so just Control W. And the first one here, we're going to rename it. We're going to call head roll. Our second one here, we're going to call head yaw. And our third one, head pitch. Great. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the data result from our evaluate live link frame and plug these into each of the get property values. So next we're going to need 3 variables. So over here on the left, if you click the plus sign on the variables, we're going to create a new one and call it head rotation. Create a second one and we're going to call this one upper neck rotation. And one last one, we're going to call it lower neck rotation. And we're going to change these variables from booleans to rotators, all 3 of them. And then we're going to want to drag in that head rotation onto the scene and say set head rotation. We're going to do this with both of the neck rotations too. Great, so with all 3 of those, we're just gonna set them to the side for a minute. We've got a few things to do in the middle of these, as these 3 are more of the end goal. So what we're going to do is if you right click and start typing in map range clamped node, and we're going to pop that in there. So this is going to dictate the range of motion that we're going to get. So we're going to need 3 of these, so just duplicate these another 2 times. Brilliant. And then we're going to plug in the value from the get property node into the value of the map range clamp. So the in range A to be -1 and then +1, and then out range A is going to be -90. And our out range B will be 90. In our second range clamp mode, we're just going to hook that up, value to value. And then the natural range of motion for this one again is -1. And then our in range B will be +1. Our out range A will be -45 is the general range of motion for this, and then the out range B will be +45 for the roll. So for the pitch, we're going to again value to value, and the in range A is going to be -1 again, in range B +1, and for out range A this is actually going to be +70, and then the out range B will be -70. Great. So now that we've got our map range clamp nodes, we're actually going to store the data as floats. So if we type in multiply, go down to float, and you should see a thing that says float times float. So we're going to want that one and duplicate that 3 times for each of the map range clamp nodes. So we're just going to start with one just now. So what we're going to do is we're going to input the return value of each of the map range clamp nodes into each of the float nodes. So just return value to return value. And for the first one, we're going to type in 0.4. 0.4 again for the next two. And that's how we're going to divide the data coming in between them. Great, so with the first 3 ready, we're just going to move them out of the way a little. And then we're going to create a make rotator node, just like this. So this inputs the data coming in into the appropriate way that the yaw, roll and pitch are going to work on your model in the 3D space and on the XYZ axis. So the first one, just import that into the Y, so it would be pitch, and then the Z, and then the third one here into our roll. And then we're going to import that return value into our set node at the top. And there we go, so that's the way we're going to do it. So we're going to duplicate these for the other map range clamp nodes, so import the return value of each of them, just as before. So it's going to be 0.4 for each of these again, and then just the return value into the set. Now the last one is going to be a little different here. So as you've seen before, so for the head rotation, each of the float nodes were 0.4. And then the same with the upper neck rotation, they were 0.4 as well. So that's 80% or 0.8 of the 100% motion that we're going to get. So if that's 80%, that means we only have the 20% left over, which means our last 3 floats for the lower neck rotation, instead of going to be 0.4, are going to be 0.2. And then we're just going to attach our return value of our make rotator node into the set node of the lower neck rotation. And there we go, there's your super gorgeous graph, which shows your data coming in and then how we're going to apply that to the bones. So everything should be working perfectly. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click and create a sequence node. So this is going to take the valid frame of the evaluate live link frame, so plug that in. And then we're going to attach these to each of the set nodes. So then 0 would go into head rotation, then 1 for upper neck rotation, and create one more pin, then 2 can go into the set of the lower neck rotation. But you're not quite finished yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to head back over into the anim graph that we did a while ago. And we're actually going to transform these bones. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a local to component node if you right click. And then we're going to plug that in. And then we're going to right click and create transform modify bone node. This is a great node, it's super handy and perfect for what we're going to be doing just now. So remember those variables on the left? We're going to grab, let's say upper neck rotation, and we're going to say get rotation here this time. So plug in your component to component pose, and then plug in the upper rotation into the rotation part of the modify bone node. That's the only one we're interested in today. So if we click on that transform modify bone node, what we're going to do is up the top here at the skeletal control, we're going to change the bone to modify to neck 03SK. So that might be named a little differently for you, but it'd be the upper neck rotation. And then we're going to, in rotation, we're going to change the rotation mode to replace existing and rotation space to bone space. And then we're just going to have to repeat this for the other 2 rotations. So component to component pose. And then we're going to grab this time the head rotation, get rotation, and then we're going to plug this into the rotation again. So all we have to do is change the bone to modify, make sure you do this. So we'll make this one the head SK. Great. All right, and once more, component to component, and the lower neck rotation. Plug it in. and this time it's going to be the NEC01 SK. Great, so we've grabbed all of our rotation data, they've been transformed, so we're just going to create a component to local node, so changing it back. So plug that in, and then we're going to plug this into our output pose. And there you go, look how pretty it is, oh my goodness. So, coming back into your viewport, if you turn on your anim class again, press play, and there you go. There is the basics of facial mocap working in real time in Unreal Engine. I told you it wasn't that complicated and it wasn't technical, and you could do it in half an hour. How amazing is that? So now that you've got the basics, you'll now be an absolute professional at it. So go ahead, try it in your existing projects, or create a cinematic scene, maybe get some other characters in there too, and really make use of the potential of facial mocap and live link. Just put it in a nice scene and really show it off. And there we go, all finished. So what we've done is I've just dropped Bella straight into the beautiful metahuman scene. So it's the same character, the exact same blueprint, just with a nicer background and with the nicer lights as well, which makes this whole scene very cinematic, so that you can go and really show off your facial mocap scene, make a nice little video for your show reel. And there we go. See, it wasn't that technical, it wasn't that complicated, and it just goes to show what you can do with a free software and a real quality model with quality blend shapes. And there we go. So I hope that you guys can all get started with facial mocap and confidently. We would love to see what you come up with. Please send us your finished scenes and renders and send them our way. If you'd like any more tutorials, please let us know. We would love to hear your feedback, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.